everyone's week?
Yes, ma'am, was great.
Mine was actually great. For the last 2 weeks, I could honestly say that remember I was talking about my job and nobody talking on my job, and things has changed.
Yeah. See? That's good one. To just to gain better and better as you apply things in different areas of our life.
Yes,
Certainly
definitely
has.
would. Well, that is good to know that everybody had a great week. Tonight, our discussion, well, for the ones that were here last week, is about
Common
attachment.
computer.
So I know that we said tonight we'll be talking about attachment. So who is the first seeing Catherine?
So
Catherine, would I
I
send a question?
sent you some questions.
Question with an attachment question.
Catherine, because Catherine has questions here.
Because I was thinking about it and going over it, and then I said, well, and then I had one question, and then as I wrote down that question, more questions just flowed. So I just wrote all of them down. I said, well, let me send them in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me read them for you. All right. So she said, based on our discussion last week, Monday, these questions came to mind as she was reviewing the session in her head. So does past trauma, like lack of affection from a father, inform our patterns of attachments in relationships? There's 5 questions. You want me to go through it one by one or read out all one time?
Read all one time. They might connect.
Okay. So question
There's
1.
5 questions that take up one question.
But they might connect.
All right, so let me read out all 5 then. So does past trauma, number 1, does past trauma, like lack of affection from a father, inform our patterns of attachments in relationships? Question 2, if most times, what are we really doing? If most times what we are really doing is being in love with the attachment and not really in love with the person, how do we know the difference? Question 3, who then or when are we in love with the person? Question 4, what does being in love as used in relationships mean? And question 5, should we even be in love with anyone?
Yeah, one after the other. It came.
That's different questions though.
Okay.
But then we can break it up.
Yeah, I think Nicola should reread the first question. Let me start with the first question.
So does past trauma, like lack of affection from a father, inform our patterns of attachments in relationships?
So you all give it anybody take a chance at it yet?
No,
and I would say that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because we tend to make choices based on, again, past trauma. If you sit and you identify, you might realize that in relationships or even in people, you might pick people who, or be attracted, I should say, to people who are emotionally unavailable, because maybe a parent or somebody that you were looking up to was emotionally unavailable. So you would tend to see the patterns in things. As it relates to parents too, you might tend to be attracted. So everybody has their positive and their negatives. So you might tend to be attracted to, so let's say the negative qualities of one of your parents, your significant other, the people that you get into relationships with might have the same qualities as the negative qualities of a parent. So we tend to base things because attachments comes kind of like what you know. So you would tend to base things on what you know.
Okay.
Yes, that would be correct.
Yeah. Until you identify that there's an issue and then you make a conscious effort to pick different. So sometimes people would come and they would come with the quality to decide, do I stay? Do I stay or do I leave? Because this person showing certain red flags or whatever it is. So do I stay or do I leave? Because they still have choice.
Could I say, is it true that a lot of times we are so focused on the negative and the lack of that it's based on like what we think is what manifests, and then what we think manifest is what is drawn to us. So therefore we put ourselves in, oh, my father wasn't this, or my father in this, or I wasn't loved this way, and I wasn't, and it have so much focus on the lack that that is what you draw to yourself. So
That would also be correct.
that is what the group of people you have to choose from, because that's what you're drawing to yourself.
Anyone else?
That is definitely true.
If there are five different questions, then I wouldn't want the whole hour to go on five questions of me alone. I thought they were
No,
kind
but
of interrelated. So, with respect to the first question, yes, thank you for the input. Yes. My follow-up question would be how you get out of it, how you get out of that pattern, how you get out of it. If you recognize it and you recognize that this is the pattern that you have, how you get out of that kind of pattern.
I think it kind of go back to what was said last week, knowing who you are and knowing your purpose and realizing what things that you need to change within yourself to become your true self.
That is high, high in the air. I am looking for one, two, and three what to do because
So
it's easy to say know yourself,
okay,
know your purpose, and
Yeah.
let me
And
break
every
it
time
down.
somebody says purpose to me like that, it's a different definition that comes with it. Where's my phone? Where's me? Y'all see me? Okay, right. So
So I can break it down
it's
from
not that easy for me.
I can break it down from my experience, because I was where you are, not knowing, right? And trying
Okay.
to figure out, because a lot of times I feel like in church, outside of befitment and what befitment is doing now, a lot of times we hear about karma and this and that, and we they don't it's not broken down into lay terms where you could learn how to apply it to daily. That was part of it for me in terms of knowing who you are, right? Based on the understanding that you have now, in terms of um how could I put it? In terms of, let's say, everyday life, you're kind of in a relationship, and let's say you're hurt, and this person hurt you, and you're sitting down thinking, okay, well, let me see what I could do to kind of get back mentally, right? And then you start having all these negative thoughts and negative thoughts. You have to kind of come to a point of realization where forgiveness, right? You have to learn how to forgive that person and understand, okay, like what that person doing is based on what they know, and they could only give you what they could give you, right? But you have to kind of come to yourself and say, well, all right, now I understand that that is what the person knows, so that's what they could have given me, right? And in so doing, you kind of tend to forgive that person, because if you truly believe that that is what they know and they gave you the best that they could give you, then you say, well, all right, that is the best that they could have given, right? And then it's up to you to decide, do I want to continue, the way that I go, the way that I've been going, or do you learn to forgive the person, and then in doing that, it helps you to kind of heal yourself, right?
Lisa, I hear what you're saying, but in my case, I think I would be past that. But if you already have certain set patterns of, I understand the forgiving the person part, and I think I'm past that. And that took a lot of work getting there. But you still have,
But
I
do
don't
you
want to use the word
but do you
preferences. You know, when you're in a state of you don't even know what you know, what you don't have, and what you don't want. You understand? I
so
know we got past, but so I
but do you know, but the thing is do you know what you want? based on your truth, based on God's principles, based on life principles. Learn to love, learn to do, you know what you want,
Let me
right?
stick with that. Let me stick with that a bit because
Just 1 minute. I see that Nicola has something to say.
Well, Lisa kind of answered, but that's all I was going to tell her. It's all about learning to spend time with yourself and knowing what you want, not what you want based on what the world say, but what Trin wants and what Trin needs. Because I just use Adana as an example. Adana could need 5 cups of water a day, and I could need 3. But they will say everybody need 5. But based on everybody body mass. So it's all about knowing, taking that time to spend time with you and knowing what is truly for you and then setting those preferences. And the same thing Lisa was saying like before, when you start to know what you want, because people would come with the qualities that you want and what you don't want. So knowing what you stand for and what you would allow and what you wouldn't allow. And if you truly don't want it, well then don't stay there. Because then you wouldn't get all, but you would get the majority.
But
And then that's where the unconditional love would come, because even if the person don't have 2 of the qualities that you want, you would still love them regardless. Because it wouldn't be based on an attachment. It would be based on actually loving the person for who they are and understanding that both you and the person is one with everything.
well, I also think that the fact that you know what you don't want is a good thing, right? And if you know what you don't want, then you know what you want,
Hmm. And then
right?
there
Because
is always
and
this saying that says you have to become what you want to attract.
yeah.
And a lot of times when you sit with that statement, you just realize just now, I have to become what I, when you really sit with that statement, becoming what you want to attract, it does really resonate things very differently for you, when you really sit with it.
It's like opposites, right? You know what you want, you know what you don't want. From knowing what you don't want, you would know what you want. And
Mhm.
then you start to kind of focus more on the things that you want that makes you feel good. That when being true to you is doing things that make you as a person feel good. A lot of times we figure when we do things for ourselves is because we are selfish, but you have to be selfish enough to love you before you could love somebody else.
That is true.
Let's deep dive on this topic because it's an interesting one. And we'll try to deal with the other questions that Katrin has and deal with other questions as we go along. Whether you look at life through the church that you go to, or through the bedroom that you pray in, or even if you go to parties and you enjoy yourself, you'll always function in patterns and you would build your life around patterns. And the truth is, these patterns that you build your life on is essentially how you guide yourself. So, in essence, if there's someone in your life who brought trauma, you will be familiar with that pattern, which is similar to what Nicola was mentioning before. And because you're familiar with the pattern, you would tend to look for this pattern. But there's something else that's happening because this has nothing to do with your conscious awareness, because all the work that we as beings are doing, all the work is done from the subconscious. So what we layer upon the subconscious is how we draw things into our life, how we receive from the universe. That's why you need for nothing. But if you don't know what you want, it's not about knowing what you do not want, because your subconscious is concerned with what you do not want. It's just the reality of the things, the people, the places, and everything that makes up who you are. What you do not want is not important to who you truly are. In stating that you do not want something, you are identifying something. So, in truth, in you recognizing yourself as spirit being, because there is nothing that is created in the physical, it is created in the spiritual, and then it is manifested or realized in the physical. So you focus on what you want, not what you do not want. And in order to deal with the reprogramming of the mind, as Caption was trying to figure out, it is just in the awareness, your awareness of where you are. Once you accept that, the next stage would be, just as Lisa pointed out, recognizing what you want. So you have already identified that this is the pattern of my life. So now the focus is, this is what I want. And because you state it, because it becomes present in you, it needs to be part of your awareness. And once it's part of your awareness, what you are seeking is just a matter of time for it to be real for you. But what we tend to do is, while we are looking for something that we truly want and we know we want it, we either leave out the way that we feel about it, there is no emotional connection to it, and because certain things are missing, we're devoid of this in our life, and because we continue seeing a pattern of existence that we are familiar with, we assume that this is exactly what is our portion, and we believe that that is what it is. So I can't get away from this. The only reason you can't get away from it is because it didn't take time, like both Lisa and Nicola mentioned, take the time to get to know you. And when you get to know you, you'll realize that there are certain things about you that you keep doing, patterns. And because you are forming patterns, you are building onto your subconscious a pattern of attachment. Because attachment is not for something positive always, it's also for negative things. And that's what we do. We build patterns of attachment, and because everything manifests itself from the spiritual into our reality, our patterns of attachment is exactly what we are trying to manifest in our life. So, as we spoke about attachment with love and being in love, the concept of being in love is based on a feeling. That's what it is. And your reality, your life is more than just feelings. So if you limit your experience to just the way you feel without recognizing yourself as body, mind, and soul, you are going to formulate hard surfaces around that feeling, attachment, and there, case in point, you will be served whatever comes along with whatever you attach to that feeling, whether it is negative or positive. Follow, everybody?
Yes.
So, like we said, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's what is true. As you go along your life, it is okay to feel increasing amongst a love for anyone. But you safeguard yourself by trying to control your patterns of attachment. It is okay to feel negatively towards a situation, but you control your pattern of attachment. You are always in management mode of who you are. Your existence must be real. And the easiest way is to recognize that you are one, just as Nicola mentioned. You are one with all things. And if you recognize that you are one with all things, then you will know that you are part of something greater. And because you are part of something greater, you will control your attachments. You will control your patterns because your pattern will not be limited to what you think and feel. Understood?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yeah, one question. Um, Love and attachment, are they connected?
Mhm.
And if they are, at what point can one separate, or should one separate this love and attachment?
Love and attachment are only connected in the individual mind. Love is. Love is boundless. Love is timeless. Love, every single thing you look around, there is only love. As someone who wise once said, even the vagrant is in love with that moment, what that they're experiencing. The person who is on drugs, they're in love with what they are doing. We would stay on the outside and don't recognize that for what it is. Love is. Attachment is the other part of it that we would create in our mind. But the thing about attachment, attachment is bound with the ego.
Mm.
So attachment is guided by your very ego. This is what I like. This is what works for me. This is what does not work for me. It's all purely attachment. Whether you choose to accept it or not, that's essentially what you are doing. So you try to mitigate your attachments and then you have a completely different life experience. Because your life is not governed by your attachments unless you allow it to. And attachments start from very young because even the little baby possesses an ego. Ego is not the guy who likes to show off, one who loves to dress nice and make her friends envious. That's not ego. Ego is there from birth, from the consecration of your spirit being, your soul, body, and mind. There is ego. Ego is along for the journey through your entire life. And it is up to you, every single one of us, to control the experience that ego has. Because when we control ego, we have a better understanding of who we are in life. I hope that answers the question.
Can
Love
I
is
ask a
separate
question?
from.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we go ahead.
Very well.
Um, do you guys have any tips on how to, I wanted to safely detach yourself from certain negative things? I find myself, as we both have been working with attachment and love, right? I find myself attracting in my personal life almost the same type of people. Um, and they all have like a common trait. And I asked myself, I said, what am I doing on a daily basis that is calling these people to my energy, right? I don't know what it is, but I sort of want to change the narrative because moving forward, I don't want that unhealthy attachment because I do form attachments very quickly. and I don't want to attach myself to somebody that, or persons that will bring me down. You understand?
Yeah.
Like what would be dead weight. So is there little tips to just sort of filter the type of attachments that you have? And how do you then, for the ones that are already there, what are some safe ways of detaching yourself, if any?
The thing about attachment is that attachment binds to you from the soul. And because it binds to you from the soul, this is where the attraction of the things that you want, that the universe provides, that God provides, that the world through you brings into your life. So your mind, everything, just like your breathing, like the way your body functions, everything else goes on automatic. Once the attachment is formed, your mind has very little to do with what you are attracting into your life.
Ay, ay, ay.
Attachment is a serious thing.
So could I ask a question off of that? So when, let's say in the beginning,
Oh
right,
boy.
we're talking about relationships. In the beginning, let's say you have two people that started to talk from a mutual thing, and you
We're
say,
still going
okay,
to answer the question though, as we
huh?
go along. We're still going to answer the question that was raised as we
How
go along. You go ahead
how
because it leads to the answer.
how is it you safeguard yourself from forming an attachment, in terms of how do you know if this is the person God put sent for you, or if this is you attracting?
So, so there is you made up of your mind and your body, and there is the you that is part of the universe made up of your mind, your body, and your soul, functioning as one within the spiritual existence that is everything. Everything is spirit, but as we described before, as we spoke weeks ago, once what you see and touch and feel, once it enters into your mind, you identify what it is based on patterns. Because if you do not know of something, you would know how to identify it. So it must be based on something historic. Similarly, with attachments, because you are building patterns, you are also building a history. And this history rests on you. So when you try to get rid of the attachment, you must dig up your understanding of you in order to embrace something new. Something old must die. This is truth. So you must actually give up what you are holding on to with regards to your attachment. And because it is attached to the soul, there will be pain. Because you will be faced to look at the person in certain instances. And then, and this is the answer to the question that she asked prior. And then you must look at you. And then you will recognize that there is no negative and positive with regards to who you are. Who you are, you are. You are. So on certain days, you are positive and there will be negative on certain days. It is up to the use of the soul and the mind working together to instruct and guide what is best for you. If you try to live your life trying to curtail what is negative and all your negative experiences, you are going to have a one dimensional focus through life. And that one dimensional focus is going to continue to bring things that you do not want to experience. This is a part that they don't mention and teach whenever they teach personal development and everything like that, because they don't go as deep with regards to understanding yourself. Your focus in life, built on a word that came up earlier, purpose, which is not the grandest thing that you want to achieve, which is just you enjoying your life experience. You are going to call to your life things and places and people that you do not want. And the reason why you would do that is so that you can experience something. And when you experience this and you do not form an attachment, you won't experience it anymore. But should you experience it because you formed an attachment based on how much you love the person or love the place, then you are putting yourself in the pathway for hurt. So in order to control the way that attachments bring things into your life, even when you try to change, you must do a really deep introspection. And when you do the deep introspection, you will no longer be looking at the negative aspects of the person, but you'll be looking at the things in your life that cause you to make the patterns that you make. And then you have to cut those off in order to deal with it. This goes to people who you don't want to bring into your life in the future and people who are currently in your life. Because as you start to cut these things off in your life, you would no longer attract that to you. Because as we established before, everything happens in the spiritual dimension. Nothing to do with the physical. Nothing to do with the physical. The physical is just a response and what it appears to be to what is truly going on the inside of you. You follow?
Yeah. So how you cut it off? Is it through forgiveness? You cut it. It's through forgiving the person. That's how you cut it off. Because I kind of stuck in the how you're cutting it off part. Because it's like you could for me you identify what partially kind of identify what it is, right? That you're drawing into you. But is it like forgiveness? That is how you let go of it to move on.
But who are you forgiving?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, when I say forgive, because I feel like, okay, forgiveness for me is like, okay, like I said before, you come to understand and you truly understand that this person is who they are, right? That's who they are based on their upbringing, their knowledge, their whatever. That is who they are. So you get to the point where you say, okay, this is who you are. I accept you now for who you are, but you are not who I want for myself. Right? So in that sense, for me, it's a sense of healing. Like I could let you go because I have come to the awareness that you are who you are and I accept you now for who you are. And I just know within myself that that is not what I want for myself. So in a sense, like that's the release for me.
Where is forgiveness?
The forgiveness is because I forgive you for what you did because I know you did the best that you could have done and you did.
But Lee, suppose there's nobody.
If they are doing the best that they can, what is there to be forgiven?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right, but all right, but I guess is when I say forgiveness, is for because before I know what I know, I didn't understand that, right? I didn't understand where it's like everybody there's no wrong. Everybody do what they think at the present time. They do what they think is right for themselves. Now, based on you and the consequences and how you allow somebody to impact their action on you, how you respond to their action, it's on you. But like I said, now that I understand that, that's
But could
just
it be that you just forgive yourself?
So that's correct. So the
Forgive
forgiveness is
yourself.
only for you.
Yeah.
It's not
mm,
for them.
mm.
You must forgive you because it's
Mm.
you who are always in control. They will be
Oh,
who they are.
who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because you
Okay.
identify that, you recognize who you are and you realize that you don't need that person in your life, then it's easy because there you sever ties.
So,
And the
so
truth is, you don't even have to sever ties by doing something physically. You can do that from the spiritual standpoint, and you will see the person slowly fade away.
but how do you okay, so now you come to the realization that everybody is individuals, they are who they are. Moving on to a new relationship now, you kind of like you're kind of timid and afraid to go into anything because you're like, what if? How? You understand what I mean? So how do you like you just said, cut that off so that you don't attract it into yourself again?
So
Abs-
Nicola
Well,
have something to say.
Um, it boils down to your subconscious belief. So, like Lisa, for example, and with anything that you believe within your mind, whatever is there subconsciously, what you truly believe is what you would attract. So, for example, if I use myself, for example, for a long time, I would have been afraid to enter into relationships because I would have been attached to the fears and everything going wrong. But now I'm learning to understand that it's to detach from that and allow to give things a try. So detach myself from the belief of the fear and let go of the fear because the world is based
and
on
pay attention. I just interjecting. Pay
okay.
attention to what Nicola is saying. She moved from one form of attachment to another.
So
Yeah.
Huh?
it's from negative attachment to positive attachment.
Huh?
She moved from the attachment where the relationship is concerned
Mm.
into being attached to the fear
Mm-hmm.
because she doesn't want to be exposed to the hurt that she would have gotten. Remember, you don't tell the true you. You don't say to the universe, I do not want
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
You follow?
Yeah.
Don't make
Um,
me cut, Nicola. You go right ahead.
All right, yeah. So what I'm saying is now I have an open mind and I'm willing to give things a try. So I'm no longer, well, what if it go wrong? I'm like, well, what if it goes right? Let
Mm.
me give this a try and then form that belief. Again, it would have people that would come. It's probably not the best person for you. So then okay, let this go. Don't carry it on more than 2 weeks. I'm just using a time frame. While it might have somebody that might come, give it a try, let this might go on for 5 years. If it go on for 5 years, it was something I was supposed to learn for the 5 years, and then you keep it moving. Even if the person come for 2 days, there was something I was supposed to learn. Whether it is to show me that okay, I really and truly don't want this, or whatever it may be. So now it's about letting go of the fear and going into things or having a open mind. So again, it would be more like forming an attachment to the positive experience over the negative experience.
The I'll tell you a secret about life. Life is yours, but your life is not for you.
So who is it
yeah,
for?
yeah,
When when you understand that, you understand everything.
Oh my
So
goodness.
is this where your life is based on the soul? Is the soul's experience? And
Your life is based on the soul, the body, and the mind. But you are in a shared experience.
Mhm. But we tend to live in the mind and the body and don't bring the soul involved and don't let the soul get involved.
And then we seek patterns based on what we are experiencing without recognizing that the exact map is built within spirit, that is everything, and the soul, who is the driver.
Yeah. We tend to have the soul in the back seat a lot.
And the journey to bring the soul to the front, difficult one.
Ah. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday to get the soul to the front.
Because the soul, remember we just spoke about it, where the ego is,
Yeah.
and the relationship, and what the soul is taking the note and holding on to the attachments that we create. So even when you bring the soul to the front, without remember that we spoke about a few weeks ago, the cleansing and the washing, there is a lot that happens that you must be aware of. But when to be aware, you must spend time with you
Mm.
and be able to cry when you look at yourself, your true self,
Yeah.
and you identify that this is how I've been. Because we accept certain things and we believe that we are being whole because certain things in life are working, and I am away from the negative things, but you're not. They're right there until the day comes that it's time to expose you to this, because this is what you have to learn next. The journey is soul, body, and mind working together. The guide is recognizing that you and everything that you want, you could tap into anything. But rather than tap into everything and anything and experience each moment, we tap into the attachments and build history around the attachments and believe that the way we feel towards the attachment is exactly what is best for our life. What happens then is that we enjoy the experience and we fall in love with the experience. And then when life continues and goes left, as they tend to say, we are shaken because we didn't expect that to happen. Expectation is also built on a pattern.
Mhm.
You live life believing and expecting, which are two different things. Expectation must be replaced by knowledge. I know, because expectation is built on hope, but it's built on hope that's based in the ego and not in truth.
Mm.
Hmm. Life is easy, is it?
Life is easy. I think is the fact that you forget what you came to or you came to do or your purpose or whatever. It tends to make it hard because you have to relearn
That's right. It's easy, but you must replace to regain without any attachment. What it is that they say? You can't carry nothing with you, yet we hold on. Just as we established, where the children are concerned, and we don't love them for who they are, but rather we love the attachment. So we build attachments with everything because we are always seeking a particular pattern that we can enjoy. That's why we laughed when we spoke about the the drug users because they are seeking a particular pattern, aren't they? Sounds familiar to you?
Hmm.
But yet we say they are having a negative experience because we tend to weigh everything based on positive, negative, good or bad. And that automatically curtails our ability to live. It restricts us from experiencing life completely because we try to make sure that everything is good and positive. You don't have to do that. You don't have to make sure everything is good and positive. What you have to do is live with the awareness you are everything and that you are body and the soul and the mind as one within an existence that everything is one, and then automatically, just like your breath, just like your lungs do, just like your spleen, all function without your conscious awareness. Once you live from that happiness, you don't have to worry about weighing the scales of positive and negative and good or bad because your existence will be for the benefit of all. But as you live for many
Hmm.
that you must. Doubt it? How do you procreate? How do you get paid? How do you show love to others? You must live with others. You must function with others. You don't have to like it. But even if you don't like it and you decide to go to some cave in a far land to live all alone with no one, there will be plants, there will be animals, there will be rocks, there will be grass, there will always be others. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Others doesn't necessarily mean human beings.
Shared experience.
Guys, it is now 7:55. Is everybody clear on what was discussed so far? And do we have any more questions concerning the topic of attachment, or does everybody understand everything that was said?
I just have a question. I think I know kind of know the answer. So if you live without any expectations or attachments, if something is not to be, it will just fall off, so to speak.
It will fall off because your expectation should be replaced by knowledge. You know that this is going to happen. You know that this person will act this way with you. Why you would know this? Because you know that you will act a particular way that will draw from them the very best. And if they don't, then Lisa, you said it, you know that you forgive yourself and you move on.
Mm.
Life is not difficult unless we make it that way. And we tend to make it that way because everything that the collective unit of individuals here and outside of here, the collective unit has learned from someone else who did the exact same thing. So you replace what you know by spending time with you and get to know.
Mm.
In fact, because the topic was raised so many ways, we shall discuss relationships at the next encounter. Someone here, someone here is trying to elevate themselves, and the course of action that they're trying is not best for them. If you know who you are and you know who you are, scale back.
What does scaling back mean?
Scaling back means step down and review once again. Because there's a fall associated with that pattern that's being created. So scale back, review, and reorganize. Elevation is there, but just as we discussed tonight, for things to be created in the physical, it must start from the spiritual. And the more organized and disciplined and in order your spiritual existence is, the easier things manifest or are created in the physical. So scale back, refocus, reorganize, and then assume again.
Everybody heard it this time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, guys, if we have no more questions, it is now 8 p.m.